The quiet town of Umuchi, surrounded by green hills and winding streams, two boys grew up side by side, Chijioke and Ifeanyi. From childhood, they were inseparable. They played under the same mango tree, fetched water from the same stream, and even attended the same village school. But as they grew, their hearts began to take different shapes. Chijioke was bold, fiery, and proud. He never liked to be corrected. If someone offended him, even by mistake, he would not rest until he had his revenge. His teachers called him stubborn. His mother often wept, praying that one day he would change. But Chijioke would shrug and say, "This world belongs to the strong. The weak are only born to serve." Ifeanyi, on the other hand, was calm and thoughtful. He listened before he spoke, and always chose his words carefully. When others mocked him for being too gentle, he smiled and said, "Gentleness is not weakness. A calm heart can win battles that fists cannot." The elders in Umuchi noticed their difference early. Chief Nwoke, one of the oldest men in the town, often said, "These two boys are like fire and water. One destroys, the other gives life." By the time they became young men, their paths had clearly divided. Chijioke, the fearful force. Chijioke began to gather followers, young men who admired his boldness. They called themselves the Lions of Umuchi. At first they claimed they were protecting the town, but soon their protection turned into oppression. They took taxes from traders, snatched goats from farmers, and forced villagers to show them respect. Anyone who refused was punished, sometimes beaten, sometimes humiliated in public. People began to avoid Chijioke's path. Mothers whispered warnings to their children, "Do not cross his way, or you will meet trouble." And Chijioke enjoyed it. He loved how people stepped aside when he walked by. He loved hearing whispers of fear behind him. He felt powerful, invincible. One evening, as he sat under the palm tree near the village square, Ifeanyi came to speak to him. "Chijioke, my friend," he said gently, "you're scaring everyone. You're not leading with strength. You're ruling with fear." "That is not the way." Chijioke chuckled and folded his arms. "Ifeanyi, you talk too much about peace. Tell me, when people fear you, do they dare to betray you? Do they dare to insult you? No. Fear keeps people in line. Love makes them think they are your equal." Ifeanyi looked at him for a long time, then said quietly, "When people love you, they wish you well. But when they fear you, they wish for your downfall." Chijioke laughed, waving him away. "You and your foolish sayings. Let's see which one of us life will favor." Ifeanyi, the beloved son of Umuchi. While Chijioke ruled by fear, Ifeanyi lived by love. He became a farmer, tending his father's land and helping others with theirs. When a widow's roof leaked, he gathered the youths to repair it. When an elder fell sick, he visited with food and herbs. Children adored him. They ran to him when he returned from the farm, knowing he would have roasted corn or ground nuts to share. The elders blessed him wherever he went. Even strangers felt peace around him. Ifeanyi never raised his voice, but people listened when he spoke. His presence alone commanded respect, not out of fear, but admiration. Chief Nwoke often said, "A good name shines brighter than gold." Ifeanyi has planted love in this town. Even when he is gone, it will keep growing. One hot afternoon, trouble came again to the marketplace. Chijioke and his men stormed in, demanding that every trader pay them security money. One woman, Mama Nkiru, refused. She was old and poor, her goods barely enough to feed her children. When she pleaded for mercy, Chijioke slapped her across the face. The market fell silent. No one dared move. People watched in fear as the woman fell to the ground. At that moment, Ifeanyi arrived with a basket of yams. He dropped it and ran to help her. Looking up at Chijioke, he said in a firm voice, "This is not strength, my brother. You are fighting those who did you no harm." "Stay out of this, Ifeanyi," Chijioke barked. "You think your sweet words can change the world? The world fears power." Ifeanyi stood tall. "No, Chijioke. The world survives on love and respect. Fear may make people bow, but it will never make them loyal." Chijioke glared at him and stormed off, furious that his friend had challenged him in public. Weeks passed, and the tension grew. Chijioke's men began to quarrel among themselves over money and power. The same fear that bound them together began to tear them apart. One night, they gathered to share the spoils of their latest raid. Voices were raised, knives were drawn, and in the chaos, Chijioke was stabbed by one of his own men. As he lay bleeding on the ground, the faces around him were cold and distant, the same faces that once trembled before him. No one came to his aid. He whispered weakly, "So, this is how it ends?" By morning, the once feared Chijioke was gone. When the news reached the town, no one celebrated, but no one mourned either. People simply said, "Greater than, he lived by fear, and fear has claimed him." The legacy of Ifeanyi. Ifeanyi buried his friend with his own hands. As the villagers watched, he stood by the grave and spoke softly, "Chijioke was my brother. He chose fear, and it destroyed him." Let his story teach us that love is the only power that truly lasts. Years passed. Ifeanyi became a respected elder in the community. People came to him for advice, and his words guided many young hearts. The story of his friendship with Chijioke was told to children as a lesson about life. And whenever someone tried to rule through intimidation, the elders would remind them, "Remember Chijioke, who was feared and forgotten. Remember Ifeanyi, who was loved and lives on."